Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast, where the blueprint to understanding a new and unified world is in our shifting consciousness.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining the Blueprint Podcast. I'm Angela Blaha and this is Jason Hermanson. And today we want to talk about several different topics maybe, but they all kind of combine together. So we want to talk about the 13th creation, like what is that? And that the Blueprint Podcast is really about stabilizing or planting seeds about the 13th humanoid or human. How that all plays into self-mastery, like you have to work into self-mastery in order to become the 13th, move into that space of the 13th human, which is all about the new earth concepts. And then we're going to plant a seed about quantum locking. So welcome, Jason.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Ready to get this show on the road.
Exactly. All right, let's start with the 13th creation. The 13th human, like we know that there's 12 dimensions, right? And that there's the 12th human, which is what, if we look back in time, we can record those when humans changed, grew, expanded throughout time. And now we're into this another expansion of the consciousness and of humanity. And into this 13th sort of dimension, 13th creation. So what's your viewpoint about all of that?
Well, before I kind of start with what is the 13th creation, just like you had just mentioned, there's this number 12 it's talked about a lot, right? It's talked about a lot in history. We had the 12 light rays, 12 energy rays, color rays, 12 creations of humans on Earth originally, right? In different areas of the globe. All of that stuff is important to understand, or at least have some sort of awareness on, so you kind of know where we're heading to next. The 13th creation, in my words, is bringing the human aspect, this physical human body, and all of the wonderful things we get with being a human, and bringing in our God self into one, right? Bringing the energy, the DNA, from a cellular level, a cosmic level, bringing everything into one creation, which is the new 13th creation. It's not a new, a new human, a new energy that's coming necessarily into our earth that will populate the earth. It's us currently right now, taking our God gene, our God self, and bringing that and morphing that into one, right? And at the cellular DNA level, to help us finally evolve, so we're not stuck in the same patterns that we've been stuck in for centuries.
Eons, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, I agree. So this 13th dimension, which is really where the consciousness will reside, is in this sort of 13th dimension. So it incorporates all the other dimensions though, right? Like we're not abandoning those other dimensions. We're adding to those dimensions. So there's an additional component here that's the 13th dimension. It's a high vibrational, or a different, I don't want to say high and low because that's not really true. It's a different vibrational frequency that allows for expansion into the cosmic field, like being able to see, hear, and know what's happening in the universe, being able to see, hear, and know and understand that God component that we talk about frequently. And that's really what self-mastery is knowing and understanding that you held all the power, that there's not something outside of you that's holding power over you, that you are the one with the power. I think that that's the forgotten components of humanity. Like we have forgotten those things because we don't have memory. And I think that this 13th aspect of us is like, we are on the cusp of it, or I think some of us have started to incorporate that. Like there's a knowing that, that we do hold the power, but how do we access it, or how do we use it, in a world that's so diverse and so extremes, and how do we use it so that we don't destroy ourselves or harm someone else or harm something else. So I think that that's what's being decided in the cosmic field right now, or in the universal field, is like, how does humanity gain all the power of their God self and this 13th dimensional frequency without actually destruction, which is what they've always done in the past. So we've talked last week and the week before about self-actualization and self-mastery. Like, what does that incorporate? What does that mean? And it's really you knowing and understanding who you are at a deeper level than what we've known before.
Okay, so I said this last week. Now is the time to pause, rewind, and play that again, because what you just mentioned is key to understanding the rest of our conversation today.
Yeah.
So it's
I have a
you had
tendency to just
so
dump
many
stuff.
there's just so many layers to that, to what you just said, right? And each of those layers could be a whole hour podcast just by themselves, but we'll dabble on a lot of that. I want to just back up a second, and we mentioned week 1, or the first time I was on, we talked about the tree of life and all these different building blocks that are coming together to kind of help support this new creation. Last week, we kind of visited a little bit about that as well, or this week, I guess. All of this new, all of these changes, like with the tree of life, the amygdala, the 13th energy ray coming in, different energy centers around physical Earth are moving and shifting. Different energy is being brought to Earth to kind of help support this. All of this work that's been going on for the last several months is all here to support this 13th creation, right? Allowing us as humans to break down those belief patterns, break down those barriers, to allow us to reach our higher self, that God self, and bring all that into oneness. That's all of that is happening to help support that. You kind of mentioned kind of holding ourselves back a little bit. There's a level of us doing that as humans, right? There is a level of us, that fear factor of, well, I just don't know if I want to go that far out there, because there's a level of fear that has been put on us because of belief patterns and emotions and all the stuff we're led to believe, all that BS. But there's also there's a higher level component to us being held back, right? That what you mentioned at the beginning, that quantum lock, this energy, there's energy out there that doesn't want us to be successful, right? Doesn't want us to continue to evolve and elevate ourselves to reach that highest state. And we'll kind of dab in. We'll get to there, right? I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I just want people to know that there's a level of self-responsibility, right? But there's also a bigger piece to the puzzle that isn't always there. It's always there, but it hasn't always been there to help us be successful. I don't want people to think that I can blame that, because we can't, right? We can't. We talked about this last week. We have to own our shit, right? We have to own our power.
Yeah.
It's up to us to move forward and make those decisions and make those choices that align with our heart space. But there is something bigger out there. And that's what Angela mentioned at the beginning with the whole quantum lock and energy. There's this energy out there that's kind of holding us back.
Right. We cannot move into self-actualization thinking that someone's going to come and save us still, or thinking that, that we don't have to be responsible for our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, our patterns, like all of those things. Like, we are the ones responsible. Like, I'm 100% responsible for my crap. And I'm the one that determines when it gets transformed or if it doesn't get transformed, right? So, but that is still my responsibility. And there is not anyone or anything coming to enlighten us, coming to save us, coming to, I don't know, transform us in any way, shape, or form. In order to know and understand your own power, like you have to be the power, right? And you have to be responsible for the power. And there's consequences. There are logical and natural consequences that follow every decision you make, every thought you have, every emotion that you have, every action step that you take. There are consequences because we live in a universe that has logical and natural consequences. Like there are natural laws that just govern the entire universe, including AI, including humanity, including Arcturians, including, you know, everything that exists in the universe. So there's not, so that I think is, gosh, I don't know. Can we drill that in any deeper that we are the ones that are responsible here? Like there's even if we were seated in the beginning through the gods and through the other beings that live in the universe, it doesn't matter how we ended up here as a human. The point is, we now know that we are a human and that we exist in this universe and that we are the ones responsible for who we are. Nothing else can, like, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
That's the line.
There's no effing savior. Let that go. Right.
Yeah.
We own our shit. There's no one, like you said, there's no one here going to save us. There's no one's here that's going to take us to the next level, all that BS. That's a belief pattern that's been instilled in us to
keep us small.
I don't,
From,
I don't want to say control us, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You know, that's what it is.
It's domination and control. And I think that humanity had to understand what domination and control is in order to understand what power is.
Yeah.
You know, and how that ever got set up, I'm not really sure. And does it really matter? I don't know. The point is that we are transforming right now and that we need to be responsible for everything that we do.
Yeah. And there, so another thing that I keep getting told I need to mention this, but before I do, I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. I want to kind of help answer the question. Reason why the question keeps popping up in my head, someone must have it besides myself, but why now? Like, well, why all of a sudden it's 2023? Why the hell now? Why not 30 years ago? Why not 20 years from now? Oh, we'll get to that in a second. But, shoot, now I forgot what else I was going to say. Oh, well, not important. We'll talk about that. Why now? We are in a very crucial, might be too strong of a word, but we are in a crucial time period, not just here on Earth, but galactically, right? We are in this really crucial time where we're on this cosmic calendar where a lot of things are transforming. A lot of things are changing. A lot of things are evolving. And believe it or not, it starts with us humans on Earth in the Milky Way galaxy. We are the center of all of this, right? We have been empowered to lead this charge, to lead this way for the cosmos. Not just our galaxy, but our galaxy and beyond, you know, infinity. We are the center. We are having an energy and experiences from outside of our galaxy right now. Energies are coming here to see what's going on, to help support what's going on, to help break down these barriers and hurdles and belief patterns, to help ensure that all of this is successful. And it starts here with us as humans, with us being a heart-loving God being here on Earth, and what we're doing will radiate out into the cosmos.
Yes, we also have our own galaxy helping us with Pluto coming in Aquarius, you know, like it's here to transform. Like that's the whole deal. It's here to break down the old stuff and to birth something new. And so we have all of these energies, like all the planets right now in our solar system, like are supporting this whole shift. And they align for a reason, right? Like all of the energies and the vibrations align for a reason. And it's not just humans or Earth, it's the entire, like Jason said, it's the entire galaxy. It's actually the entire universe. And so there's bigger components here that are coming into the experience. And I think that we take for granted like this kind of stuff. We get so, I don't know, we get so entangled in the minutia of humanity, of our daily ins and outs, you know, the whole daily cycles that we go through, that I don't think we don't take advantage of the bigger picture here. And the bigger picture is looking out into, you know, the stars and into the galaxy and into the universe and saying, oh, okay, we're playing this part in this transformation. And I think that we take that for granted. I don't think that a good portion of humanity doesn't even think that even exists, even in 2023. Now, what do you think?
Now we kind of tying back to what we talked about on the first podcast I was on. Let's back up a second. You know, we're transitioning away from soul purpose, because that it's just too heavy, right? It holds us down. Yeah, exactly. To our role. Mm-hmm. So what's our role right now? How do I play into this? How do I play in this big picture view? And then how do I play into this on my day-to-day view, on my day-to-day life? You can still be a parent, you know, you can still be a coworker, you can still be a business owner, you can still be an energy worker and play those roles, but then also connect with your heart, find this bigger picture role that you're playing, and just listening to a podcast like this is helping your vibration rise to a level to help this evolution for the earth, for yourself, and for our communities.
Yeah, even if you don't believe anything that we say, which we're not here to.
I don't care.
we don't care, but we are here to shift consciousness, and just you being in the vibration is an actual shift. And so, you know, if you're listening, thank you very much for listening. And hopefully we at least plant a seed. That's really all our hope is.
Is this the time now where you have to do the plugs, like please like, subscribe, do all that stuff? I'm not a very big podcaster, so is this the part where you have to do that now?
Please like and subscribe. Share on YouTube. Share us with the world, because I think that we're, we are at a crucial point in our expansion as a human body within the context of a universe. And you know, I think the more that we can share, whether or not you believe is obsolete, it's just a matter of sharing wisdom and sharing knowledge.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's, you look around nowadays compared to even like 6-8 months ago, it really wasn't that you didn't see as much of this topic of the new creation, stepping in, evolution, 13th creation, God's self. You didn't see all that much 6-8 months ago, but right now, May of 2023, you see it a lot. You see it everywhere in social media. You see it everywhere out on the web. You hear different people talking about different things. Just make sure people know we're all speaking to the same thing, just maybe at different degrees, different levels, different frequencies. And it's important to listen to, different thoughts, ideas, to kind of help you find your center, but then tune into those ones that resonate with you, that feel the best, that you can tell in your vibration, in your energy field that, oh, hey, this feels good. I'm going to pay attention to this.
Yeah. And the way that I see it, we're not actually moving into 5D, we're moving into 13D.
Oh yeah.
we're way beyond.
Yeah, we're way beyond that.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we're been stuck in 3D, right? We evolved 1D, 2D, 3D, and that's kind of where we've kind of got stagnant, right? We kind of got stuck there. Majority of humans have been stuck there. Now there are humans, there's people that have come here with a higher dimensional connection. There's people that have remembered having a higher connection, a higher dimensional connection, and have stepped into that, right? We're not saying none of that didn't exist. It all did, but we're skipping past all that stuff.
Yeah, I think where we need to clarify though is that we've gotten stuck in the 3D physicalness.
Yeah, perfect.
That's where the quantum lock has come in. And so what is a quantum lock? So let's describe this a little bit. So a quantum lock is literally a locking that occurs within a superconductor. And Earth is, as we know, a superconductor, and it has a magnetic field. So what happens with quantum locking is in the physical experience of, manifested physical Earth and human beings and animals and all of that, it's become trapped within the magnetic field. And I think that that's where, and because we're human and we have these belief systems that what's real is what you can see, hear, and know, the unseen, the unheard, all of those kinds of things are supposedly not to be real. Well, it's because we've gotten physically stuck in this quantum locking within our own magnetic field. And that has been detrimental to our growth and expansion, but only on the physical level. That's why we have intuition. We still can tap into intuition, right? We can still tap into that heart-mind connection, all of those kinds of things. So I don't want us to think that we're completely trapped here. We're not. There's a physical entrapment that I feel like has happened, and hopefully we're on the verge of releasing that.
We are.
But what happens within a quantum lock is that so this superconductor, which is the Earth, it locks it into the magnetic field in space and time. Now, if we look back at our history over the last 10, 20,000 years, we haven't really expanded much in the physical realm. And it can't be moved. When it goes into a quantum lock, there's no movement. It can't be moved without an outside source. I think that that's really important. And that's why right now we're in this sort of, what was the word that you used? Seriousness. We're in this seriousness of, how do we move within the galaxy and within the universe? And I think that creates the most fear for people. Is we can feel that there's something changing here, and that's the physicalness. And we have, the wipings is still in our DNA. When we would wipe before humanity, we still have that sense within our DNA. And I think that that's what we're feeling when we have fear of growing and expanding. And that's probably why we allowed the quantum lock in the first place, is so that we wouldn't wipe ourselves again, we would just stay stagnant instead of actually wiping. So, but I think that is the way that I see the big picture of the conscious shifting. That quantum locking is being dealt with. We are physically going to be moving. I'm not saying we're jumping to a new Earth, to a whole new entire Earth. I'm saying physically that the Earth will be shifting in our own galaxy. What do you see?
Absolutely. Yep. For sure. We have worked on removing the old space and time continuum, right? We've removed that. What's held Earth and those living beings on Earth in time and space, we have removed and destructed the old version of that. And we are establishing the new time and space, what that's going to look like, what that's going to mean and be to help support, again, this 13th creation. Well, with that, this magnetic field, this matrix that encompasses the earth, that kind of helps hold that time and space, also needs to be upgraded, right? It's no different than upgrading your PC, right? From Windows 95 to Windows 11, right? It's like that. So that way we are allowed to expand into higher states of being, higher dimensional places, but also help us evolve as humans so we can evolve and expand ourselves, right? Like you said, we know we still have had that intuition. We know what that is, and we have this yearning for something bigger and better and more. But there are some energetic pieces of this puzzle that have kind of helped push that down, kind of help keep that sustained a little bit, which was probably important, eons ago, when this Earth experiment was being created and exploring on what this all could mean, or what this all could be like here on Earth. But we've the galaxy, cosmos, we have evolved enough past that we need to upgrade. And that's what we're doing. We're upgrading. We've upgraded the tree of life. We've upgraded different parts and pieces of the globe. We're upgrading the grid that kind of helps support all this. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah. So let me help you paint a real picture for how this transformation is actually happening in the physical sense. So we know that there's a quantum lock, right? That has literally held Earth within the galaxy, and it's just been cycling through this quantum lock within our magnetic field. So what's happened is, on the other side of the quantum field in the universe, there is a quantum lock, a different quantum lock that was created to help shift where the original quantum lock was stabilized. So it's almost like they're on top of each other here. There's also an overlay that's in the middle of them that helps to transform one physical lock into another physical lock. But the new lock is not as limited, and it's not as restraining as the original one was, because of all the fear that was in the. I think when I look back in the history of Earth, like, I think that quantum lock was put over the last wiping, where we were really afraid that all of it would happen again. And so anyway, these two quantum locks are sort of oscillating together and moving the physicalness of Earth into different aspects within the galaxy. Now, I'm not saying that we're completely moving. There's just, it's a tiny fraction that's actually going to probably take place. But it's an action, right? My question is, why do we even have quantum locks? But I can understand that, in order to take the fear away, or in order to keep a planet from moving too much where the beings on it, and that could be, there could be reasoning here that there's a quantum lock because we do live on the outside of our planet. A lot of beings live on the insides of their planets, where they don't really have to worry about that whole spinning too fast or, too slow, or whatever the deal is. Like, they don't have to worry about that kind of thing. And so, again, I think that there was this quantum lock physicalness placed for a multitude of reasons. And I'm sure that there's just plenty of layers with that. The point is, I don't necessarily believe that we need to have a quantum lock if we're actually an intelligent being, one that's conscious about what they're doing and what they're evolutionizing into. But that's between me and the Universal Council. we are hashing that out at the moment. But right now there is, the physical shift is being carefully and meticulously moved or shifted into this new sort of quantum locking system.
You can go out on the web and Google, our Earth's magnetic poles shift and move. They've never stayed consistent. That's exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
Earth itself has shifted. It has tilted. We're on a different tilt than we ever used to be. It's been scientifically proven. Mm-hmm. So just Google some of that stuff. That's exactly what she's talking about on a physical way. Now, back to me as a human, what the hell does this mean, right? I'm still going to be here. Gravity's still going to keep my feet to this rock.
Right.
But all of this shifting, how do I want to say this? It's been said for eons. We are created in God's image. We are created into this universal image, this universal being. That's how we have been created. What does all this mean? Get down to the cellular level, the DNA level. We are seeing changes in ourselves on the cellular level, on our DNA level, to help us do all sorts of neat, crazy shit, right? If you look at an elephant, right? Elephants don't die of heart disease. Why? Because they have the ability to change their DNA, change their cellular structure in a way that prevents them from getting heart disease. Why can't we do that? Exactly. Why can't we, as a plant, right, or a tree, they have the ability to change their structure in a way to be more successful, healthier, last longer beings here on Earth. Why can't we do that as humans? That's what we're on a cellular level. That's what we're doing right now. We are elevating our DNA. We are reprogramming our cellular structure in a way that's going to allow us to do that. Right. Again, Google it. This ain't nothing brand new. There's been scientists in the 80s that have learned that you can take your cell in your body and change the frequency of that to upgrade it, right? Just like a computer chip. So that's exactly what we're talking about, right? Yeah. We are removing all of those barriers that has prevented us from evolving as a Earth, as a globe, as a planet, as human beings here on this rock. We're removing all of that stuff. And there's, again, Google, listen to someone else. There's different ways that people have explained this, right? What we're removing all of that. And most of all of that blockage has been removed.
Yeah.
To allow us to take charge and us to step forward as individuals and as mankind to evolve and to step into this 13th creation.
Yeah. So we're removing the obstacles, changing things like the amygdala, the tree of life, all these, these quantum locks, all of these kinds of things. So that actual self-mastery, the ability for you to be 100% responsible for who you are and your own evolution can actually take place. I mean, that's really what, if we're going to boil it all down, that's really what it is. And that's what the blueprint is like, we're giving you like information, and some of it might be like new information, but it's still information about how we're actually taking one step and putting one foot in front of the other to make this shift happen. So yeah. Woo.
Good stuff.
It is good stuff. It's exciting, actually. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've always known that I'm here for the shift in consciousness, but I've been waiting all this time. And now we are, and it's like, we can't do this quick enough.
Yeah. Oh, we're, so what I can tell you or tell our audience is the timeline we had 6-8 months ago is drastically different than it is now. Everything has been
quickened,
sped up, quickened. Stuff that used to take us a month or a couple of weeks to do is taken minutes and hours now. So it's,
I think that don't you think that that's because we used to work independently before? Like each individual would work on their own sole purpose independently, and now we're coming together as groups because there's a large, and the group is getting larger and larger all the time.
the time
Of people who are, wait, this is my, I know that this is my portion of the shift. How can I help? And what can we do? And how do we move it quicker? Because,
and I got, this is weird. I had this dream. Well, maybe that's part of my role, right? Or, hey, I just had this experience. I was in meditation. I got told this is my role right now. That's going to be your role until that job's done. And you're going to be partnered with others. Like I mentioned, the first podcast with the Tree of Life, there was times where I was there by myself, and there was times where I was there with a bunch of other people. And then once I recognized that, I'd go visit with them. Hey, where are you from? What's going on? This is cool. So
this is where I think we need to address this as well, because this is part of the self-mastery, is moving into your soul family, the one that you came into life with, and finding soul family. Just knowing, I think that we need to completely destroy that whole belief system of what a soul family is, and that you're there with them forever and ever and ever. That's not true. And it's not going to be true in the future for sure, because we are moving. Once we get done with one sort of job, let's call it, in the cosmic field with the shift in consciousness, then we move to another job, then another mission, another purpose, right? And you're going to be from this soul family into this soul family into another one. I think we need to, whoever's listening out there, and I know that this can be a very lonely space in time, is we've always had this connection to people, right? And when we are shifting in our evolution here in our consciousness, we have to rewrite what that really means and what that looks like for the future, because I think that we get lonely because we have these belief systems that we can't be alone, that we, but knowing that instead of thinking that you're lonely, why not shift that into, who do I get to meet next? So that there's not that weird, that's how you can transform your own cell memory of what being with people is, and being, with soul family, being with your human family, all of that is shifting. And what if you just look to the future for that kind of thing, instead of, a lot of my clients have been feeling very, very lonely. And I totally get that. But I think that we need to shift that. I think we need to change that whole verbiage around what it is to be alone and lonely. So,
well, we're two things. We're not alone.
no.
And you said whoever's listening, everybody's listening, because you're that fucking amazing, and the cosmos are listening. So it's everybody's listening to this podcast right here. So if you are one of the lucky ones that are listening in the human form, congratulations. Everybody's listening to this podcast because Angela's that flipping amazing. So the cosmos are listening to this conversation right here, right now.
Yeah,
that's why being on this podcast allows us to elevate our frequency, elevate our energy, right?
Yeah.
Being alone. We're not alone. I don't know if I've said this story. I remember saying this story here within the last week or so, but I don't know if it was on the podcast or not. But here's an example. Soul families, right? There has been a belief pattern that, either family members, non-family members, we come with connected to different souls. We might be our wife this lifetime, might be a spirit guide next lifetime, right? And there's a level of truth to that. It's just not to what we've necessarily been told the whole truth about all of that. And here's my example. Do you want to say something?
That's the quantum entanglement of the locking that was put in place before. And it probably, a good portion of it was true, because we sort of did hang with this one group of people.
Yeah.
until we outgrew them, then we would shift. But for the most part, we did do that. So
yes, exactly. Nope, exactly. So here's an example. And if I've said this already, well, I apologize. It's only my third podcast, so I don't remember what I kept saying. Okay. So long time ago, when I first kind of stepped into my higher self and exploring energy and all this stuff, it was pointed out to me that I had this big male masculine spirit guide, right? And I always name any of those type of spirits that show up from time to time. I give them a name so that way I can physically connect to them easier, right? And his name was Robert. So and he's been around all these years. Whenever I've needed something, he's been there. I've been able to talk to him, share things with him, ask him questions, and he's always been there for me to help me out. And I've always known that I've had this connection, this soul family connection to Robert, and just figured that, we've shared these lifetimes together and all these experiences together, and we have supported one another. Until I've stepped into all of this new work this last 6-8 months now. Back in January, I had an experience, meditation type experience, energy work I was working on, where it was brought to my attention because I've raised my energy, I've raised my frequency to a whole new dimensional place of being, where it became clear what Robert actually was. Robert isn't necessarily a guide, a previous energy being that we've connected, we've shared lifetimes with. He's actually me, right? He's me. He's been me. I've been him in different lifetimes. We'll be together going forward. It's not that we've been brothers or spouses or cousins or whatever you want, family members. We are each other, right? Mm-hmm. And that was a very eye-opening to me on what you just talked about with these belief patterns and what we've led to believe. It's much bigger than all of that, right? Mm-hmm. And that also helped with the loneliness piece and helped me connect some of those dots. I think maybe I mentioned this before on the very first podcast, but a way of recognizing that you are starting to make these changes is groups of people, and people just annoy the shit out of you more than they used to, right? That is a mechanism to this evolution, right? Is just being around people and being amongst different groups of people. It just annoys the piss out of you. It does go away. Trust me, it goes away. But that's a indicator that, hey, look, something's changing in me. Mm-hmm. But so back then that was happening. And so having this recognition that, hey, look, this spirit guide that's always been with me, I've always thought we've had this soul connection with, well, we have. It's just been a lot bigger and deeper. We are each other, right? Mm-hmm. It's my higher self. It's a version of my higher self. There's different versions of our higher selves out there, right? There's parts of us that are, you might have 2 or 3 of you here on earth right now, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. That's cool. You might have more, or you might have a few of you out in the cosmos doing work. Mm-hmm. Connecting with them, and connecting with them, working with them is all part of this 13th creation.
Yes. Bringing everybody home.
Yeah. Into one, right? That God self.
Exactly. Even though you don't have to be in the same physical location. Like, I think that's one of the components of loneliness, is that we believe we have to be in physical form, with each other, touching each other, looking at each other, all those kinds of things. And I think that I at least my hope, and I hate using that word, but my hope of the shift in consciousness is that we can erase all of that, or at least change it into the seen versus the unseen. I hope that it becomes actually one, and that we see things and we don't see things, but we know that everything is actual. Like, not that we don't have to have the physical component which again reverts back to that quantum lock, which sort of stationized, or it made it very stationary, that the physicalness was the only thing that we believed in. And my hope is that humanity actually realizes that that's not actually true, that there's so much more than just physical.
It'll happen. It has to happen. It will happen. I mean, I don't like to make guarantees. I'm not a gambler or anything, but it will happen. I know it will. I can feel it, right? You can feel it in your heart. We have this yearning, we have this desire, we have this knowing. We are going to get there. Absolutely. Hands down, we will get there.
I don't think it's going to be overnight with the loneliness, though, because it's deep within our cellular structure, that whole lonely component, which actually was imprinted back in the God days, like when the gods actually came in and created the physical. And so I don't think that it's going to be overnight, but I do feel like it will be a transformation, but I don't think it's going to be a real quick transformation. And so in order to help with the loneliness, I think we need to look futuristically and say, who can I meet next? Like, who can I meet next, and what can I bring to the table with them?
Here's one guarantee I can promise. It's not going to happen on Angela's timeline. I can guarantee you that. She wants everything that fast.
Right now.
It has to happen that fast. Why can't it happen that fast? Get rid of this shit. It can. But there would be a lot of shock and awe, that's for sure.
Yeah. But, loneliness is one of those things. I've been in the psychology world forever, and it's a big imprint within humanity. And it's just, for me, it's very heartbreaking because it leaves you isolated. It leaves you thinking that you're not enough. It leaves you feeling that you're not enough. It does all these, it's an atrocity. It's one of those atrocities that was imprinted eons ago. And for me, it's like, gosh, if we could just get rid of that one thing, I think that people would feel and know and be so much more powerful within themselves. Just that one thing,
Well, and I think a way to start breaking down that belief pattern, that those barriers, just physically, just close your eyes and imagine in your mind's eye this connection between your physical body and source, whatever source means to you, right? Just physically see that connection in your mind's eye. Know that that's there. Take that knowing, that vibration of knowing, and just place it in your heart. And knowing that I have this connection to source, which means I will never be alone, right? I'm always with someone, something, this higher power, this higher place of being. And it'll help start breaking down those beliefs of those loneliness beliefs that we have here in the human realm.
Yeah. Well, I do know for sure that when you become the God self, like when you actually allow yourself to transform into that 13th kind of frequency, there is a component that comes with that does, I don't know if it erases it. Like, I haven't actually looked into that, if it erases it or if it transforms it or what it does, but it changes your cellular structure into knowing and understanding that loneliness is only a belief. And once you can rationalize that logically and emotionally, get and understand that it's just a belief system, then, it all stops. Like the whole lonely aspect reverts to something different than loneliness. It's like there's a plethora of, like, you don't feel it any longer. Like, that whole physical, that's, I think, one of the things with death as well. And when you become a self-master, when you self-actualize, you just transform that whole death concept, that once you die, like you're gone, and that, all of, like, that's a lie as well. But I think that that's again why Pluto is here, is because it's erasing, or it's changing, or it's transforming all of those beliefs that that death is physical, that death is just getting rid of something that doesn't serve you any longer so that you can actually birth into something that does.
It's rebirth of your soul, death of your human. And then when your soul transforms into humanity, then it's the death of the soul and birth of a physical being. I heard that somewhere. It's a long time ago. It's probably like Dolores Cannon or something. That sounds like something she would say.
Yeah.
But absolutely right. And it's not just the loneliness. When you said you step into that, right? It's not just going to help you heal and move past the loneliness piece. It's the worthiness piece, right? Am I worthy enough? Am I smart enough? Am I loving enough? All that stuff that we deal with as humans that we've made up in our mind, all go away. It all starts to fall apart because it can't. Again, I think I mentioned this last week. We acknowledge those, right? We acknowledge those. We provide a level of acceptance. It has no control over us no more, right? So we can move past all that crap and all that baggage that we think and believe we have to carry with us all the time, which is bullshit.
And because we're changing these quantum locks, like there's no energy to support that any longer. And so, the quicker that you can move through that, process it within your own mind and your emotional field, then the quicker you have freedom with, from those things. So, yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Good stuff. Great job.
Yeah. All right. I think anything else?
No, I wrote some more notes down on what we can talk about maybe the next time. So
super. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. This is Angela and Jason signing off from the quantum field. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us today. To find out more about Angela, visit her website at www.angelablaha.com.